So welcome today. The information provided is for educational purposes, is not intended as medical advice or a substitute for medical advice of a physician or other qualified healthcare professional. You should not use this information for diagnosing a health or fitness problem or disease. You should also always consult with a doctor or other healthcare professional for medical advice or information about diagnosis and treatment. We do not claim to treat, diagnose, mitigate, prevent, or cure diseases. It's extremely important. This is just for educational reasons only. I think I told most of you guys this. After this talk, so Patrick and Marty and John, if we can make sure Tiger knows, we will be dissecting all the literature and white papers that I have now had published under my name. And those will be for educational reasons only. They're not for sales purposes, just like this, but it will be to educate you all so you know, so that you know the information as it pertains to our products. So let's go to the next slide. So the genetic test, and the next slide, please, Tiger. The genetic test incorporates the book of you, and we're calling it that because we want it to be about you. The goal is to make you as great as possible, and we are all different. So you're trying to get a snapshot of really your health status based on really what's happening on the inside and outside of your body with all the cells talking. We talk about that all the time. We each have certain DNA. Our cells are all different. They communicate different. There's actionable genes that impact your daily performance. And I think that's what's so great about this, that you're able to look at your nutrition. You're able to look at your performance. You're able to look at how you gain or lose weight. You're able to look at renewing things and even CBD and cannabis, because it's really important for you guys to understand not everyone can take everything. And this particular test will help people really have a guidebook on what they should do, what they should eat, what decisions they should make, how they should work out, etc. Let's go on to the nutrition part, the nutrient part. So in the nutrient part, it provides a comprehensive analysis of genetic predisposition, basically showing what is absorbing the micronutrients in your diet. So it's looking at what's happening in your diet that's actually absorbing. So remember how I talk about how some people aren't actually getting the nutrients. And I want to say this because this company isn't coming out and saying this. So I want to say this as a scientist. This test can change. So let's say you take it now and you're detoxing for a year, the next test results would be different. So let's say Nurse Christy is eating a balanced diet and she has plenty of natural vitamins and minerals. Most of us have some difficulty, even me, in absorbing all those micronutrients. So this looks at cellular level and really what's happening here. To understand your genetic profile, you got to look at the processing of the vitamins and the minerals. And it's important to look at how healthy you are based on those nutrients. Let's go to the next slide. Sorry, guys, let me do something English.
No.
Thank you. Okay, so this is an example of the report. And we have Marty's report and we have Clayton's. So I'm going to be going over it. And of course, I care about both of them, and understanding the results is really, really important. If you look at this particular test results, and I have to be careful because of HIPAA, I don't want to tell you guys exactly who it is, but even though they both have given me permission to tell you all, I'm going to be careful about that. My husband, I don't worry about. I worry a little bit about Marty. I don't want to ever say anything that he doesn't want me to say. But if you look at this for vitamin A tendencies, for example, it's below average. This suggests, for example, when you get a test that shows below average, let me just give you an example. It shows that your body is really not handling that nutrient, right? So it suggests that your ability to convert high doses of beta carotene from a supplement into an active form of vitamin A may be reduced. You may want to do a blood test to assess your blood levels of vitamin A if they're low, or consume more beta carotene and vitamin A rich foods. That's important. Like maybe you need to eat more carrots. Maybe you need to eat different types of grains that have vitamin A. It's really important to look at that. I'm going to say this, that can change and fluctuate based on what you're doing. So, hey, Patrick, I'm so sorry to say this to you, but people are saying that mics are muted, but they're muted on purpose, correct? Because they're not supposed to be talking right now.
Yes,
Yeah.
because everyone keeps coughing and talking over you. So I muted everyone so they can't unmute.
Okay, so you guys can text each other individually, or if you need to text Clayton, but I mean, not Clayton, Patrick, but we're not opening that right now. I just wanted to make sure you
You
guys knew.
can communicate in the chat if you have a question.
Yeah.
We will
So
respond.
So there's lots of tests. So let me use an example. There's a lab in Nashville where I can go and take these tests. But if you ask me if it's accurate, I don't know a lot about it. There's a lot of labs throughout the world that do this type of testing, and we wanted to find the best one that had accurate results so that we could utilize this with this group. We had lots of offers, just so everyone knows, from a lot of different groups, but this one was chosen because of their accuracy and because of how good the assay testing is. But when you look at the vitamins, vitamin B6, for example, it's below average too. Vitamin B9, which is your folate, below average. And again, this shows that you should use certain types of food. For example, if someone was low on vitamin B6 and B9, I would say you need to take more of the crush and you need to take more of the relive greens. Why? Because that has a lot of your B vitamins inside of it, and you need to make sure that you have it. We have B vitamins listed on some of our labels, but if you look at relive grains, it's integrated into those grains. So I would tell that person they need more of that. Now, B12 above average, that's great. This person probably has a lot of energy because their B12 is high, and I love that. But again, going back to your folate, which is connected to iron, as well as MTHFR, which can be a problem. You want that to raise up higher. And MHTFR, I don't know how much you guys know about that, but that can cause a lot of issues. So you do want your folate to be average or above average. You do want your B6 to be above average. Your vitamin A, for example, is related to your eyesight. So you do want it to be average or above average. So what you would do is double down on the products that we have that have those in it. And that's why I mentioned the relive grains. Another product, Restore, would be helpful in this tendency as well. Vitamin C is normal. I do want to point out something to you guys. My vitamin D levels are usually low. They have been since birth. So I always have to take vitamin D, and I take it along with vitamin K, and I take it in our products, right? Because we have it. But my body just doesn't metabolize it well. So there's always been issues. So I keep taking higher doses of that. And that's why when like governments tell you what an average person is supposed to take, the truth is it's different for every individual, which is why I talk about that a lot, about how everything's different. Vitamin D tendency, this particular person again is below average. That's not shocking to me. As people age, vitamin D does come below average. And I will say this, sun does help with vitamin D. People always say to me, Christina, you're out in the sun a lot. And I'm like, I am, because I'm low in vitamin D and I want to have more vitamin D in my system. So I make sure that I eat a lot of vitamin D rich foods, and I make sure that I put in our supplements a lot of vitamin D, again, along with vitamin K, because we do understand that some people, the vitamin D doesn't work because they have a lack of vitamin K or vitamin E. So you got to make sure that you're getting those in the different supplements or food you're eating, which again is what we try to do with the products that we have. Vitamin E tendencies, this is basically this person's normal, but the vitamin E is important because your immune system needs vitamin E in order to work effectively. Another thing that's good as far as vitamin D, again, is relive grains. Also, if you look at immune defense shield and you look at NAD and quercetin, that really has certain formulations or certain key components that contribute to the production of vitamin E. So it's really important that you guys understand that as well. We will have a question and answer session on this about once a month. We have to integrate that into what we're doing because I do think you guys are going to have a lot of questions on this. And this company gives you a full summary, but we will continue to help guide as well to help guide you guys on the reports. Go on to the next slide. So again, this is just going over the different levels. Your calcium is below average on this one. Your copper is below average. There are certain, again, I lean on relive grains. I lean on Restore and Immune Defense Shield and Crush to really help with those specific areas. This particular person has omega levels, which are normal. You guys know Crush is helpful for that, and Relive Greens. Magnesium on this report is normal. Phosphorus is normal. That doesn't shock me. I wonder, this person must be on similar products, because we do have a lot of this in our ingredients and what you guys are taking. If you're taking all of the products, just because you get a report back and there's below average doesn't mean the products that we have aren't working. It means you may need more of those products because your body just is not interacting or metabolizing that so that the nutrients go in your body. This is typical. I just want you guys to know, for every person, there's going to be different areas that you need to focus on. So it's kind of like a guidebook on what you need to take more and what you need to take less. Because when you look at the dosing regimens of our product, and I tell you guys this all the time, it's different for everyone. It depends on your DNA. It depends on what you've been exposed to. And it depends on the environment you're currently living in and your overall health. So this just really gives you a guide on what you can eat or what you should eat as a focus, and then also maybe an increase in what you're taking. If it's above average, like the selenium, this person must be eating a lot of fish, lean meats, and vegetables. I would tell a person if it's above average isn't bad, but you may want to limit the amount of fish and the amount of, especially fish, I would say, and grains, because I'm just going to say this. People think if they eat just grains or fish, they're healthier. And that's not necessarily true, because if there's a higher selenium, if it's too high, there can be an issue. So you don't want to eat too much fish. We know now there's a lot of toxins that can happen in fish and plants. So you just want to be mindful of that. Again, I'm not worried about this person. You just have to keep it in mind when you're looking at your diet. Zinc is also above average. So that would mean, like, for natural barrier support, you wouldn't take as much if your zinc is above average. Go on to the next slide. However, zinc, guys, helps with cellular function. So you don't want to get rid of it. You just don't want to take too much. Next slide. So this slide is talking about DRC, and there's more, guys, by the way. There's more summaries on different things, but that's just an overview so you guys can see it. This is on GX Slim, and basically this is a weight management program that looks, or test, that looks at your genetic makeup, and it looks at your genotype and really what's going on. It's not one size fits all when it comes to diets. Everybody's different. So this is based on your DNA, which I think is extremely important. We have the 30-day trial. We have the Rahm Effect Root app, but it's really important that we look at body fat responses to diets and weight loss, to look at genetic tendencies, because you guys want to look and feel your best, and that's what's really important. Next slide. So let's talk about this. All right, so this particular person actually has a really good report on metabolism, weight loss tendency, satiety, and weight regain. This is really great. They're normal. And that means they're able basically to burn fat. They're able to metabolize things. They can expect to successfully lose weight and keep it off if they're doing diet and exercise. It looks at regaining weight and losing weight with lifestyle intervention. This particular person will need to practice weight management. If you look at weight regain, it says you will need to practice weight maintenance behaviors to prevent weight regain. And that means, and this is pretty typical, as you age, just cardiovascular, like running and stuff like that, isn't enough. You need to do weights, and you need to do resistance training, which I know Clayton and I do, try to do at least, 1 to 3 times a week. It's extremely important that you do that, because people say all the time, like, we work a lot, right? So how do you have time when you're not sleeping a lot and you're working to do it? You just incorporate it into your day. And I just want to say really quick, when I'm traveling, regardless, some people know this about me, some people don't. I'm doing push-ups and sit-ups in my room, and I'm making sure I'm doing squats or leaning against the wall and really putting pressure on my legs so that I can maintain the muscles in my body. If you just take 10 to 20 minutes out of your day and you do resistance training or you do cardiovascular, and then you go to the gym and you do weights, and you can even do that if you're in a hotel room by finding weight in the hotel room and doing it. It's really important. You've got to get that exercise in as much as you can. This also is showing satiety. And if you guys look at this, the genes are also on there that impact that. So this is FTO, and it looks at basically watching portion size. Does this work with people? Because if you look at your overall guidance, you're supposed to eat certain portions and not huge portions. This person, it's good news, they're meeting weight loss goals. If they set goals around losing weight and eating the right portions, they're going to hit those goals. So when we talk about sculpt and crush, you guys, and some people losing weight and some people that don't, I say constantly, you can't feel guilty because you can't lose weight. If you're really following the plan and eating right and working out, you can't feel guilty. It may be something in your system, and that's why we're testing the genes. If these were below normal, then this would be a candidate that would need more crush and sculpt than typical, right? Because their body really needs extra help. And not just going a little bit further, this particular person, if it was below normal, I would say needs more immune defense shield as well. Go on to the next slide. So this is looking at different food and looking at protein utilization, fat utilization, carb utilization. Again, if this is Marty or Clayton, this is a good report. Normal, normal, normal. That means that they are able to really utilize protein. And it's telling them choose a diet from 10 to 30% proteins from plants or animal sources. That gives you a great guide on what you should be eating. 10 to 30% should be protein. Fat utilization. If you're dieting or reducing calories to create a negative energy balance, you can expect to lose weight on either a low or moderate fat diet, right? Our products are really low or moderate fat, and our products are really low sugar, right? We high protein, we're hitting all of those marks. So if the person's genes are working, then they should be able to take a normal dose of our products. If they're not, they may need a different dosing schedule. Carb utilization, I think this is really important that this one's normal. You want to make sure that you're eating the right amount of carbs, but some people need to eat less than they're eating because their body is not really utilizing that the right way. And it's not metabolizing in the right way. This is suggesting complex carbs provide the most nutrients and fibers. And if you exercise, you can have longer lasting energy. So it's showing really your weight loss and how you do it and what you need to eat. But again, you have to remember if you're going to choose carbs, then you need to choose complex carbs. Patrick, give us some example of complex carbs. Can you hear me, Patrick?
Sorry, I was talking when you were muted. To say that again.
Can you give the group an example of complex carbs?
Complex carbs, so like sweet potatoes,
Yeah. So like a carb,
yam.
like a potato, for example, is not as good as a sweet potato, right?
Mhm.
Like your grain fiber breads are not as good as white breads because you're looking at the complex of the carbohydrates and how you should eat them. There's a lot of nuts and a lot of grains and stuff that can really help with that as well. So you really need to look at it. Not everything's the same. Like regular pasta is not the same as a pasta that was made out of like a sweet potato, right? I eat a lot of that. And that's why I know I love pasta that's made from sweet potatoes or zucchini or things like that because or yams because it's better for me than eating something that's just a white grain. Let's go on to the next one. But again, if these weren't normal, then you'd have to worry about it. All right, so this person has low gluten sensitivity. And I just want to focus on this for a second because this would not be, mine would be different on this. So this person's genetic profile indicates that they have a low risk for gluten sensitivity. That means they are not at risk for having trouble digesting or tolerating gluten. Is this Clay's report, Patrick? Do you
Uh,
know?
it looks similar to the one that was on the ambassador call.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they use, I can't say it.
No, it's not clay.
Okay. Well, this person's lucky because they can, and I would say Clay's probably low risk for that too. I'm high risk for gluten sensitivity because I have a gluten sensitivity. Clay can eat definitely more gluten than I can, which is why when Patrick and Ted and Clayton and I go eat, Clayton's always like, don't worry about it. You can eat anything. And I'm like, no, I can't. It makes me sick because I can't tolerate it. I get sick. I have a lot of problems digesting it. And I always have, if I'm honest, since I was little, even though I didn't understand it, now I do. This person, so this is really kind of good that it's low because this particular person is not sensitive to gluten, and that's really great. Lactose intolerance, unlikely. Again, this person is really lucky that their metabolism and their lactose intolerance and their gluten sensitivity, it's good. This is a good report. Basically, lactose intolerance, which I've had since I was little, can cause a lot of problems. I think it's one of the reasons my vitamin D has an issue, but this particular person can drink milk and they can also drink other things that have lactose in it because it's unlikely they have any intolerance. Caffeine metabolism is slow.
Hmm.
I will tell you this person is definitely a candidate for Give Me Back My Youth. But even if you have a lactose intolerance, you can still take Give Me Back My Youth because of how it's processed and the peptides. The caffeine metabolism is slow, and that means they are unlikely to benefit from caffeine as much as other people. It actually may even be a negative to their health, even though they may love it. So you would probably limit the amount you take. However, some people would read this and say, I want more caffeine because my body is slow to metabolize it. And that may be a personal decision that they make. They may be drinking more rum roast because they need it because it's not impacting their body at first. But if it starts upsetting their stomach, then they would not want to drink caffeine. Just because it says slow, though, doesn't mean that you shouldn't drink caffeine. It just means it's slow to metabolize. Sweet preference. This is interesting because I know who this is now. They are above average. So this genetic profile indicates that that they are likely to have above average sugar intake and crave sugar. However, it's telling them because their genes are basically signaling that they want sugar, right? But if they have too much sugar and too much cravings, that's not good. So it's telling them to pay attention to that. Bitterness sensitivity. This is interesting. This person does not like that taste of bitter because of their genes. So it's not going to hurt them, but they may want to minimize some of that because some of the compounds in the food taste bitter and they probably don't like it due to the genes that they have. If they do too much of it, it could cause a reaction as well. So that's something that they will have to pay attention to. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so this is talking about basically fat loss response to cardio, and this is showing that it's enhanced. So they will experience more fat loss by performing cardio exercise 3 to 4 times a week. So if I was this person, I would be doubling down on that because they're going to be able to lose weight really quick if they do cardiovascular. And I hope that that's what my profile says. I think it does because I lose weight really quick when I work out. Fitness response to cardio is below average. And what that means is it may not improve their fitness. So it may improve the fat loss, but it may not improve their fitness. So that means that they should look at moderate intense workouts. If you remember what it said earlier, though, this particular person needs to do weights. So again, cardiovascular is going to help them lose weight, but it's the lifting of weights which will help them really with their overall health and making sure their fitness is in shape. So this person needs to do both. Response to strength training is normal. So that's great. That's a great response for that. That means that when they do strength training, despite their age, they still are responding from their genes correctly to that strength training. Their response to cardio, again, this goes back to the first, is enhanced. They really respond well to cardio. However, I want to tell you guys again, they've got to do weights. Cardio is going to make them lose weight. It's going to give them optimal results if they do 5 days a week, but they still need to do the weight training. In insulin sensitivity response to cardio, normal, that's great. The genetic profile indicates that their insulin sensitivity is normal. So they need to aim at most days include resistance and high intense cardio workout. For me as a scientist, if I was reading this, I would still go back to that person and say you still need to lift weights due to the overall health combination. And I think that's most people, by the way, but this person should be extremely happy with the responses that they got from this test. They're probably taking the root products because if you ask me, the results of this look like they've had experience with detoxification as well as supporting their overall health. Glucose response to cardio is normal. That's great. So basically boosting response by exercising 4 or more days a week and high intensity is really going to help their routine. And if you remember back, it said 3 to 4 days, and then another one said 5 days. So it's really important. And then if you look at 200 to 300 minutes, if they can get that in, they're really going to see an improvement in their overall health. And I mean, I'd be extremely happy with this, just knowing that these results are this high at their age. Let's go to the next one. Meal plan based on genetics. So this is showing what people should eat based on the genetics that they have. And it goes over basically an example of a diet. It's a step further than the Rahm Results Root app. We are looking at incorporating this test, just so everyone knows, into your actual app. Patrick and Wesley and I need to meet with the Rahm Effect Root app. And if you guys have a genetic panel, we want to incorporate it so that you guys can see not just a basic plan, but based on your test, how that goes along with the Rahm Effect Root app and what you should do and what you should take. So if you look at this, you can substitute things, but this says blueberries, oatmeal. Again, you're looking at basically the carb intake, the fat intake, the protein intake. That's what they're really looking at, as well as the vitamins that they need and incorporating it in. So this is a fantastic marker and way to really look at what you should eat. It's great guidelines. And you can Google stuff too. So let's say you know you need vitamin A. You can also look at what you should take and how much protein and how many carbs are in that, because there's other vegetables and there's other types of protein that work dependent on the test results. Lunch, this is showing black bean, lentil salad with cumin, lime dressing. And again, this is just a guideline on how many calories and what they should really eat and what they should do based on their vitamin and intake and minerals and what the results are showing per their DNA. Dinner, and I want to point this out to you guys, if you look at the combination of how many calories this particular person is eating, I think it's a great marker because you're looking at basically 2,000 calories a day. And this is showing if that person eats like this and follows a similar diet, then this person is going to be at their optimal health. And I think that's really important. So you do want to look at the total of calories you're supposed to be eating. You want to hit that amount. Women that are on this phone call, just so you guys know, it's not looking at the changes in that on everything. It's doing a little bit, but there's more it could do. So for me, I wouldn't do quite as much of the serving because I'm a female and I'm smaller. I would be hitting about 1,600. I wouldn't be upset if I hit the 2,000, but I would really be trying to also look at my intake based on the results and my weight as well. Next slide. So I think this will be really helpful for those of you that are vegetarian. A lot of friends that are vegetarian or they eat just fish. I think that's what Joy eats. If you look at this, this is showing you basically in this type of diet what you can eat, and you can see there's still 2,000 calories, right? And you can see they're still hitting the carbs, proteins, and fats. It's a misunderstanding that people weigh less because they're vegetarians. That's a misunderstanding. You can be overweight when you're a vegetarian. I've met plenty of people that are vegetarians that are overweight. You still have to look at your quantity, the measurements, the protein, and the fats and the carbs. if this isn't selling you guys on how you need to have an analysis on your body, I don't know what is, because it's really important you have an overall intake level of what's going on and what you should do. And then it helps guide you with everything else. You actually become an expert on your body, but you're also able to help other people at understanding the results. Let's go to the next. So exercise recommendations. This is based, so you remember what they said. So if you look at this, the frequency is 3 to 4 times per week. However, if you guys remember back, some of it said 5. If you read between the lines, that at least they want to hit this 3 to 4, right? They would achieve more results if they went to 5, but 3 to 4 is good. And I would say that's a really accurate statement, like on how many days I end up working out. I mean, there's some weeks I may work out 7 times a week, some days 5, sometimes 1, but I try to hit that 3 to 4 number. Intensity needs to be moderate to high. I want to point that out. Can't just walk if you're this person. You got to hit the intensity. You need to do you need to do the stair climber or running or skiing or things that are high intensity if you can, because the low intensity is not going to help this person a lot. The duration, again, and we read this on the analysis, is 200 to 300 minutes. So you're basically looking at, 4 hours a week. Now, for me, I'm telling you guys, if you can't hit that amount of time, then you at least want to hit as much as you can. Because for me, when I know I can't work out that many hours, then I'm just doing as high impact as I can and as much weight as I can. If I can't hit that number. But this particular person will benefit the most if they do that. And again, giving them things like Crush and Sculpt will even help in this area more. And again, the Relive grains, because of their profile, and Restore an Immune Defense Shield, I would absolutely put that as something this person needs to take. They do need to also do the Clean Slate. I think everyone needs to do that. But I think benefiting from some of our products would be huge. And I think they probably have incorporated it into what they're doing because the results are really good. Strength training, again, you guys heard me talk about it. They need to lift weights. If you look at everything that they're showing, lifting weights is an extra component that really will hit their fitness prime if they can do that. And this is typical, you guys, of people that are aging. You can't get older and not lift weights. You've got to make sure you're retaining the muscle, which is why it's so important that we have the peptides with the Crush and the aminos, because it's extremely important and it really impacts the body. Going back to that, you don't have to go back to the next slide, but it did say 2 to 3 reps. I always do it. I want you guys to know when I do reps at the gym, I do 3. They always say 2 to 3, but for me to get my maximum results on working out, and I'm older, so it matters to me, but my entire life, because I've done weight training my entire life, I do 3 reps of almost everything. If I only have time for 2, then I go up to 10 to 12 of 2 times reps. So basically, I'm doing, whatever I'm doing, I'm going 10 to 12. If I do 3, I usually will do 8 reps when I'm working out. But I'm not a exercise physiologist or trainer. I know Dylan is, so he can come on here and give additional advice at a later time because he's really good at that. So here's your custom exercise plan for this person. It shows them, and listen, guys, when it says gym, just know this, you can do it anywhere. It doesn't have to be in a gym. So when it says treadmill walking, you can actually do that running on the street or walking very quickly. Because remember, this person, if they do slow workouts, it's not going to impact them as much. They've got to do actually more. And they're saying this person needs 15 to 20 reps. Again, that's not what I do, but that's what this particular plan is saying for this individual. Rowing machine, 75 minutes. Again, if you can't do a rowing machine, then you're going to do an exercise that's moderate to high for this person because they've got to hit that cardiovascular. So this really does give guidance on your cardio exercise. If you look to the right, and your strength training, it's telling them what to do or what they recommend. Do not get discouraged with yourself if you can't hit all those reps or can't hit all the time. That's your target of reaching your optimal health. So you're going to try to do it. But again, we all have lives. Our lives are important. And sometimes exercise is not the number one thing that we have to do that day. We have to take care of our families, our husbands, our kids. We have to get on a plane. We have to get on a video. We have to get in front of people. So please don't get hard on yourself about this. Just make sure you're trying to hit it. Let's go on to the next slide. This goes even further on looking at the muscle groups and what you can do. And again, going into even dance fitness classes. So here's what I do. Another secret about me. If I'm in my room and there's dance music on, or I can put it on my television, I start working out and dancing. I keep, and my husband knows this, my kids know this, I keep weights in my room under my bed. I think Clayton just moved him out because we had that show this week, this weekend. I got to move him back in. And I also keep a elliptical like balancer, and I'll put the TV on and I'll balance. And sometimes I'll jump rope or run in place. And I even have like the sit-up machine that's in our room, so I can do sit-ups, because sometimes I don't want to leave my room. I just stay in there and I'm on phone calls with you guys, or even texting. Like this weekend, I think I was texting Pat. I was doing push-ups in my room, trying to get in shape. I felt really tired this weekend. And so another thing I do to push through, because of how much we travel, and I want to share this with you guys, because I know I have to be in shape, and because we're traveling and I'm tired, even when I don't feel great, I will do some kind of workout to really increase the endorphins in my body and try to get my body back in set. Now, of course, if I have a fever or if I'm sick, I don't do that. But let's say I've slept 2 to 3 hours and I really want to go to bed. I try to do something before I go to bed to still impact my body in a positive way. So just keep that in mind, because I know sometimes people read this and think, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to do this. No, you're not going to be able to do this perfect, because you have a real life. You're just going to try to hit it as much as you can. And again, remember, crush is your friend. Clean slate is your friend. Relive grains, it's your friend. Sculpt, it's your friend, because it's trying to really help the body reset and give the body what it really needs. Let's go on to the next slide. By the way, I love yoga and I love Pilates. Just so everyone knows, I love it. If I had time right now, we do Mandu, which is like a 15-20 minute session, but it's so high impact. It's like working out for an hour to hour and a half a day. If I had time to do yoga and Pilates for an hour every day, hour and a half, I would do it. I don't have time, but it's great as far as working out. And you can really, so when you talk about like Pilates, even though you're not lifting weights, you are using the strength training and you are using resistance, or at least I do when I take Pilates. And I also do bar training sometimes. I haven't done it in a while. I used to. I did it a lot during COVID. So there's different types of exercises that are not just going to a gym. Going salsa dancing, like Clayton and I just committed, we're going to go dance. We're going to learn dancing together so that we can work out while we're dancing. So try to incorporate fun things into it as well. So this talks about athletic performance solutions and indicated towards you and your DNA. And it looks at additional insight such as caffeine, recovery, inflammation, injury. And we already went over a lot of that, but this helps incorporate it all into your genetic insight. So let's look at that really quick. So I love this, by the way. I think it really helps. Again, this person's doing great. They've got intrinsic motivation, I can't say it, Patrick, to exercise. And what that means is they're more likely to have intrinsic motivation to train, and they're more inclined to maintain an exercise and training routine without the need for external motivation or results. I think that's me too, because actually I don't need anyone to tell me. It's just something that I'm motivated to do. And I don't even share all of that with my husband. Like for me, my body is my body. And for me, it's important that I take care of it. So, but I bet you guys didn't know that's a genetic trait. Just like when you look at someone that is outgoing versus someone that's shy, a lot of this is related to genes. And that's why you can't blame people for every single way they're different than you or what they're not doing perfect, because a lot of it's genetic. That doesn't mean you can't develop the skills. So when you guys are reading this, if it's a weakness for you, you need to work on it. But this particular person is able to be motivated to work out just based on who they are. they're less likely to have addictive behavior, and they can control stimulus around them. Very healthy. Now, if someone says they have addictive behavior, then that's something that they need to recognize, and maybe they shouldn't drink. Maybe they shouldn't gamble. They've got to really look at it. And here's a secret from a psychologist. If you do have an addictive personality, try to focus it on something positive, such as working to help people throughout the world, such as making sure that you spend your life addicted to making others happy instead of addicted to your own body and what you want. And that's a conscious decision. So just because you have an addictive behavior, and I want to say this again, it doesn't mean that you should be addicted to bad things. It means you need to recognize that and then turn it into something positive. There is not an excuse, and I mean this. There are people that have addictions, but you have to understand you still have the power to control your decisions. So for example, if you're not good at motivating yourself to exercise because your genes say you're not, then you've got to work on it yourself and make that a priority for yourself. Endurance, potential, and power, they're high power. That's great. They have a high power response to strength training, which is what I caught earlier about the lifting weights, right? They need to do strength training that will improve their power and really make them stronger. So this person's really set up for success. Muscle thickness, grip strength, again, above average. They are predisposed to perform above average in these areas of strength and endurance. I want to use another example. So let's say there is a swimmer. I was watching the Olympics last night with Duquesne, and this swimmer has great endurance. It doesn't mean they were born with that, though. They possibly developed that because it was important to them. So this just gives you the room to motivate yourselves. Your genetic profile indicates that you are at average risk for having low testosterone levels. So they're average on that, right? So you're genetically predisposed to be an average risk. I want to say that again. Since those levels normally decline with age, it's important to take action to maintain healthy levels of hormones. I want to stop because I'm seeing some of the comments, and I want to say this. You can't just Google all this. Like going to WebMD and Googling it, a lot of this stuff is just new. And unless you've studied science and integrated all of it, it's impossible. You can get one answer. I'll use another example. If you were to Google Alzheimer's, is it caused by the microbiome? You may not find that right away. But the truth is the latest research is showing that, right? So just know that. That things are constantly changing, and the science community has not had all the answers. Going back 20 years ago when I was in pharmaceutical and biotech, I still remember when they started talking about environmental factors cause autoimmune disorders and cancers, or they're part of it, right? And it's not just your DNA. Before that point, everyone was told that cancer came from their family. They didn't understand that maybe a virus or heavy metals or bacteria, and there's still some people that don't recognize it because our medical books have not caught up. But your latest researchers do understand that, which is why I think the genetic testing is so important. Go on to the next slide. So your genetic profile indicates that your fitness response is moderate to high intensity cardio, which is normal. That's really great too, because you want your cardiovascular. If you ask me, they've already told you that in a previous test. I already read that, but they're just reiterating that. Exercise heart rate response, again, slightly above average. This person is doing great, guys. Exercise stroke volume, normal. Body composition response, normal. This person would take the normal crush, normal sculpt. But if you had below normal on this, you might need to take more, and you might need to take more immune defense shield. You might need to take more relive greens. This person does need to take more relive greens based on the vitamins, right? They do need to incorporate that in, as well as probably more restore and immune defense shield, but they're hitting a lot of the normal things. So they're probably taking some already. They could just benefit from the relive greens because of their vitamin levels. But I would guess they're either taking crush or sculpt, or if they weren't taking it and they are now, that will really benefit them right away versus other people that it may take longer because their body's not responding as well. That's why, again, you have people losing 12 pounds in a week or 4 pounds in a week, and then other people don't for 3 to 4 months because everybody's genetics are different. Let's go on to the next slide. Patrick, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through all this, so I'm gonna, but I'll try. Do you guys want me to keep going, or do you guys want us to do a hard stop at 2 and get into the rest of this on the next route U? Because they've been going with the silver group for like 3 hours, Patrick.
It's been a marathon.
Yeah, let's do this, Patrick. Let's get through. I'll have a hard stop in a couple minutes, and we'll get through the rest of it on the next route U, which is next week. And I will take some questions before we get off the call today. So let's stop 1 second. Let's stop after this particular slide on perform. Okay. And then we'll start the next week, and I'll get in more into our products next time as well. So this is DRC GX Perform Test genes. And again, it's looking at systemic inflammation, which is above average. Now, if you ask me, is that good? No. Again, I would be doubling down on the relive greens and restore if I was this person, because their genetic profile indicates they're inclined to above average. I think mine's the same way. I have high inflammation. I can tell you guys, fungus can cause that. Parasites, genetically you have that, but those environmental factors can impact that as well. And so this person really needs to lower their CRP levels. Again, I think that's one of the reasons that, the greens are so important to me when I had the pituitary tumor. Not that I can say it cured me at all, but my inflammation levels are so high. I think that's why my cardiovascular is high, my stress levels, because of the inflammation. So that person really needs to double down. I would project, if this person isn't taking relive greens or restore and they haven't gotten used to it, they need to become used to it. I would also tell them that taking 0N would be good for them to keep that inflammation down. We can't make claims around our products, but those 3, I think, can help assist the body. So hopefully this person would keep testing, and a year from now, it would be average. Injury risk. The genetic profile indicates that they're inclined to have normal fracture risk in bones, minor density, and optimal benefits of genes by eating, exercising, and practicing lifestyle. So they're normal. I'm going to say this too. From a science perspective, a medical perspective, people always say you can't change your DNA and you can't change these tests. I always love it when someone tells me you can't, and then I know for a fact you can. I have to be careful how I communicate that because of the literature that's out there and the belief system, which is why I love talking to cutting edge scientists, being part of the microbiome project, going into these meetings in South Carolina and throughout the world. Someone asked me why I went to the Vatican, because I wasn't raised Catholic. I go because we do an academy where we're really trying to learn cutting edge things. I was able to be exposed to a V-cell stem cell technology, which Clayton and I are working at incorporating those clinics in, because our goal is to provide solutions regardless of the religion, regardless of the political belief, regardless of what people are. I want to encourage this community to love each other and forgive each other, and to empower each other regardless of your different beliefs and thought systems, because it's important. When someone tells me that at my age of 55, I can't make my skin look better, I don't believe that, which is one of the reasons I developed the peptide brand, because I understood how much Crush has helped my skin. I understood how much Reno is to the phytoplankton, but I wanted additional help. And that's why I've been using the peptides on my skin. And I do feel like my skin looks better. I have to be honest. I ran out of Reno. Now I'm using Reno and the tea mist and the peptides. So when people say you can't impact it, you can. I didn't want to do a facelift. I'm not against that. I didn't want to do filler. I'm not against that. But I wanted to do things that would really impact my skin, where I would still look like me, but that it would help with the wrinkles and it would help with the volume and the collagen. And that's why this peptide brand is so important. Adding the black cumin seed was essential to me, because black cumin seed is known to cause cancer cell death. It's known to help with autoimmune disorders. And we can't claim that. We can't, because legally we're a nutrition supplement company all we can claim is they're trying to make people the best they can be. But as a scientist, my hope is we can look good and feel good, which is why this genetic test is so important, in my opinion. So people really do have an analysis. And I just want to reiterate what I said on the silver call today. Ted and Patrick and Duquesne and Dylan and Marty and everybody in that office fought to lower the cost of these genetic tests and to put it into the comp plan. And I think it was hard for Clay because he's the one that's funding it and understanding. But as a single mother that had 4 children that did not get child support, that no one gave me money, I had to work really hard to do what I do. So if anyone ever tells you someone gave me something, I was not given anything. I worked really hard to have what I had. And there were times in my life, I just want everyone to know this, that I lost everything. I didn't have money to take my kids to school or send them where they wanted. You can ask Duquesne, I couldn't pay for college. Like I didn't have the money to do what I needed until a year ago. I was still paying back my doctor degree, all the loans from my master's and my doctorate. And I was on scholarship for my master's, but there were so many bills. At my age, I was still paying back my education from my 20s because I didn't have the money to pay it off. I did buy a house for my kids, but I almost lost it. I foreclosed on a house in Spokane and downtown Nashville because I didn't have the money. I understand, and I will never forget that. I will never forget how it feels not to have money to pay for a house, not to have money to pay for food, not to have money to pay for supplements. I understand, and I understand our economy. And I want you all to know we're working really hard, which is why we're doubling down on you all. I think people are wondering why I'm reaching out so much to people because we are trying to grow your community. We have John there to reach out to you all, but Patrick and Ted and Clayton and I and Marty, all of us are here to grow your groups. We understand you are here from the beginning and we understand it hasn't been easy. So we are really trying to bring you what you need and at the same time create these solutions so that we can be the best we can be. So hopefully this is helping you all. We will continue to educate you. You can continue to ask questions. You can continue to tell me when we're doing things wrong. We will listen. It's not fake. We do care. And we will make sure that we continue to basically listen to your voices and care what your voices say and try to make the biggest difference that we can. So I think this is a great move on this company's part. We meant to do it in the beginning and it's taken me time. And again, I want to explain that to you all one last time. I wanted to make sure that we were doing it the right way. We can't do it the wrong way. We've got to make sure we're launching it so that it's really there to help people all over the world in the right way with the right test.